Hey everyone, so I have a story to share that still gives me chills just thinking about it. It's a reminder of how quickly a seemingly normal situation can turn into a complete nightmare. It all started because I needed a laptop for work. I wasn't looking for anything fancy, just a basic, used machine to get the job done on a budget. So I did what a lot of us do. I hopped on Craigslist. After a bit of searching, I found the perfect listing, a decent model for a great price. It seemed almost too good to be true, which in hindsight was the first red flag. I contacted the seller and we arranged to meet up in a public parking lot. Everything felt pretty standard. It was daytime. Plenty of people were around, so I wasn't too worried. I walked up to his car and he was sitting in the driver's seat. He greeted me with a smile and held up the laptop. He said, "Hey, why didn't you hop in? The screen glare is pretty bad out here. You can see it better inside." It seemed reasonable enough, so without a second thought, I got into the passenger seat. That was the biggest mistake of my life. The moment I closed the door, I heard the click of the central locks. My stomach dropped. Before I could even process what was happening, he put the laptop down and pulled out this weird, unfamiliar electronic device from the center console. It had a small antenna and a blinking light. He looked at me, and his friendly demeanor was just gone. He held up the device and said something I'll never forget. "I just want to be able to track you." My mind went into overdrive. I was trapped. Panic started to set in, but I knew I had to keep a clear head. I forced myself to stay calm on the outside, pretending to be curious. I asked him questions about the laptop, trying to buy myself time. "Oh, cool. So, what are the specs on this again? Does it come with the charger?" All the while, my hands were shaking under my lap as I stealthily pulled out my phone. With my thumb, I quickly typed a message to my best friend. 911. Car, parking lot, help. I didn't even have time to send the location. Just those frantic words. I knew I had to get out of there, right now. I couldn't wait for a response or for the police. My heart was pounding in my chest. I saw my chance. As he was momentarily distracted, looking down at the device he was holding, I made my move. I grabbed the laptop from the dashboard, fumbled for the door handle, unlocked it, and threw it open. I didn't look back. I just ran. I sprinted across the parking lot, clutching the stupid laptop, expecting to hear footsteps or a car engine revving behind me, but there was nothing. I ducked into a nearby store and immediately called the police myself. When they arrived, I was a mess, trying to explain what had just happened. They took my statement, and what they told me next was horrifying. I wasn't the first person he'd done this to. He had a history of similar incidents. That night, sitting at home, the reality of it all crashed down on me. I was just trying to buy a laptop, and I ended up in a situation that could have ended so differently. It was a terrifying lesson that one single, seemingly small choice, like to get into a stranger's car, can put your entire life at risk. Please be careful out there. Always trust your gut instinct. Thanks for listening to my story. It's not easy to talk about, but if it can help even one person avoid a dangerous situation, it's worth it. Stay safe, and remember to subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next one. Alright, let's talk about the time I almost didn't make it home, all because I wanted to buy a cheap, used bicycle. I found a great deal on Craigslist. It was a decent looking mountain bike, exactly what I was looking for, and the price was almost too good to be true. That should have been my first red flag. I messaged the seller, and he was quick to reply, but his choice of meeting spot was strange. He told me to meet him after dark at an old, abandoned industrial site on the edge of town. He said he worked a late shift nearby, and it was the only time and place he could do it. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The thought of getting that bike for such a low price clouded my thinking. When I pulled up to the location, my stomach dropped. The place was even more desolate and menacing than I had imagined. It was a massive, crumbling brick building with most of the windows boarded up. The sun had completely set, and the only light came from a single flickering street lamp 100 yards away. I sent a text to my friend, telling him where I was, just in case. The seller replied to my "I'm here" text, telling me to come around to the back entrance. As I walked, the sound of my own footsteps echoed eerily. There he was, a silhouette standing in a large, open doorway, holding the bike. The building behind him was a pit of blackness. He gestured for me to come closer. "Hey, man." "Here it is, good condition, just like I said." His voice was low and gravelly. I tried to keep my distance, pulling out my phone to use the flashlight to inspect the bike. The frame looked okay. The tires seemed to hold air. But something felt incredibly wrong. The air was thick and heavy, and the silence from inside that building was deafening. It felt like I was standing at the edge of void. I asked him if we could maybe roll it out into the street to get a better look. He just shook his head. "Nah, it's fine right here. You got the cash?" I told him I did, but I wanted to be sure about the bike first. As I leaned in to check the gears, that's when he made his move. It was so fast I didn't even see it coming. 1 second, I was looking at the bike chain. The next, I was on the ground, my head ringing. He was on top of me, his hand clamped over my mouth, the other one digging into my pockets. He grabbed my wallet and my phone. I tried to fight back, but he was strong and desperate. He hissed in my ear, "Don't make a sound. Just stay down." He snatched my car keys from my other pocket, and for a terrifying moment, I thought he was going to take my car. Instead, he scrambled back into the darkness of the building, disappearing completely. I lay there for a second, stunned, my face pressed against the cold, gritty concrete. My first instinct was pure survival. One had to get out of there. I pushed myself up, and my head throbbing, and crawled as fast as I could away from that doorway. I didn't even run. I just scrambled on my hands and knees back towards the street, terrified he would come back out. I made it to the main road and looked around frantically. My car was gone. My phone was gone. Then I saw it, a glimmer of hope under the dim streetlight, an old, forgotten payphone. I fumbled for some change I thankfully still had in a small coin pocket and dialed 911. My voice was shaking so badly. I could barely explain what happened. But they understood. Within minutes, which felt like an eternity, the flashing blue and red lights of a police car came screaming down the road. I pointed them toward the building, and they went in, guns drawn. They found him hiding in one of the back rooms, crouched behind some old machinery, with my wallet, my phone, and my keys right beside him. The officers told me later that if I had gone any deeper into that building, there's a good chance I would have never walked out. It's a chilling reminder that if a deal feels too good to be true, and the situation feels off, it absolutely is. Trust your gut. It might just save your life. Thanks for listening, everyone. Please be safe out there. And if you like this story, consider subscribing for more. My heart shattered into a million pieces the day Max went missing. He wasn't just a dog. He was my shadow, my confidant, my little burst of sunshine on four legs. I plastered missing posters on every lamppost, called every shelter within 100 miles, and refreshed the local community page every 10 seconds. For 3 days, nothing but silence and annoying ache in my chest. Then a glimmer of hope, a message from a stranger. "I think I found your dog," it read. The photo he sent was blurry, taken at a distance, but the shape, the color, it looked just like Max. My heart leaped. He said the dog had been skittish and ran off, but he knew the area well. "Meet me at the entrance to the old forest trail at sunset," he typed. "I'll help you look." Relief washed over me so completely that it blinded me to the red flags. Sunset? A remote trail? I didn't care. All I could think about was getting Max back. I drove there, my hands trembling on the steering wheel, a mix of hope and anxiety churning in my stomach. The sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. It was beautiful, but it also meant darkness was coming fast. He was waiting for me, leaning against the trailhead sign. He seemed friendly enough, a bit rough around the edges, but his smile was disarming. "He was right around here," he said, gesturing towards the dense woods. He seemed scared, probably hiding. I called Max's name, my voice cracking. We walked for a few minutes, the path growing narrower and the trees thicker, blocking out the last of the daylight. A prickle of unease started to crawl up my spine. It was getting too dark, too quiet. Where did you see him last? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Oh, he's much deeper in the woods, he said, his tone changing slightly. We have to go further. That's when the alarm bells in my head went from a quiet hum to a deafening siren. Deeper in the woods. Why would Max, a dog who hated being far from home, run deeper into an unfamiliar forest? Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The friendly smile he'd worn earlier had vanished. My gut screamed at me. You know what? I said, forcing a casual tone. It's getting late. I should probably come back tomorrow morning with proper gear. I turned back towards the direction of my car, my heart hammering against my ribs. I didn't dare look at him. I took one step, then another. Behind me, I heard the snap of a twig. He was following me. My walk turned into a power walk, my power walk into a jog, and then into a full-blown sprint. I didn't look back. I could hear his heavy footsteps pounding the dirt trail behind me, getting closer. The sound of my own ragged breaths and the thud of my feet were the only things I could hear over the blood rushing in my ears. The parking lot felt miles away. My lungs were on fire, but I didn't stop. I burst out of the tree line and fumbled for my keys, my hands shaking so violently I could barely fit the key in the lock. I threw myself into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and locked it just as he reached the car, his face twisted in rage. I floored it, not looking back until I was miles away. The police later told me I was lucky. He was known to them. He used the lost pet story as a lure, preying on people's love for their animals to get them to isolated places. It's a trick used more often than you'd think. Max was never found, and that's a pain I'll carry forever. But I survived. I'm sharing this story not to scare you, but to warn you. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, please trust your instincts. Your safety is more important than anything. If something feels off, it probably is. Thank you for listening to my story. Please be safe out there. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing for more awareness content.